And we are live. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the, I don't know what that was, but welcome back to the Modern Day Trader channel. Welcome back to our live streams. We didn't do our live yesterday, normal Wednesday. It was voting day here in SA. So, yeah, in the midst of that busyness, we just thought we'd move it to Thursday. And so, yeah, here we are on this Thursday. It's going to be a solo session today. Marcy is just off this week, tapped out. It's got a few deadlines. It's fine, but yeah, no, he's like bordering burnout, so he's stuck with me for this week. But yeah, as you guys know, if you've seen my weekly review, I haven't. I'm not live in the market at the moment. Currently going through like an implementation phase of the new ICT strategy that I'm currently learning. And that's it's going well. Finished kind of like the studying portion of it, and kind of now transitioning, well, not kind of transitioning into like that implementation phase where I'm finding it's it's like obviously there's that like seems a bit bright. I think that's better. There's that like excitement of like learning new stuff and like stuff, well, when someone else is explaining it, feeling like it's really clicking and it's making like a lot of sense. And then when you actually like start to implement it, um, it's just like completely different. Like just kind of putting it together. I think that's almost like the grappling with the markets that I'm kind of doing now. And it's kind of it's part of the process. It's new. As much as there's like insights that I got from like the learning journey, I didn't expect it to be a smooth sort of like implementation curve. But it's definitely different from the sense of, I think, just being a pattern trader for so long. I got very used to trying to look for certain things repeating themselves throughout time, to now where there's a whole host of different concepts that I'm not necessarily looking. Obviously, yes, they play out the same way patterns do, but and I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. It's not looking for the same pattern playing out time and time again, but it's obviously just trying to identify certain concepts playing out also at certain times of the week, times of the day, but then, adding these concepts all together in a profitable way, or at least consistently, is yeah, I think just proving to be a bit more difficult than I thought it would be, but we carry on. So yeah, stay tuned for my weekly review this week, where I'll just go into a lot more detail around what concepts I'm kind of learning at the moment, fair value gaps, my sort of the adaptation of market structure that I'm kind of learning now, um, order blocks, all that ICT jargon. I'm kind of going to break that down very high level, because it would take quite a long time if I went through it in detail. And then my weekly analysis, which I normally do in the second part of the video, will hopefully be a better attempt at implementing it than I think this live maybe. This live, I'll probably stick to some of the concepts I'm a bit comfortable with, just because I don't want to confuse you guys any more than I'm probably still confusing myself a bit in the analysis. But yeah, I think let's jump into the weekly analysis and see how the market has shaped up and if there's any potential setups for the remainder of the week. So just starting on dollar index, I think my bias is starting to shift a bit, just on the dollar and on dollar related pairs, kind of respectively. In that I was seeing a reversal from this area coming higher, to at least this point, this external range liquidity, um, kind of our higher highs. And I think the more structure just starts to form here in a sort of tight corrective formation, the more I'm seeing this continue lower. Whether that's just going to continue lower to these lows here, and then we'll get that reversal to head higher, I think kind of remains to be seen. But I think we are respecting this sort of range that we're trading within, at least on the 4 hour. We always knew the 4 hour structure was a lot higher, and we slowly trickling up into that. But yeah, I'm seeing that being respected. We're pushing off it now. We haven't really tapped into the POI, but we may do so potentially next week, or depending on how Friday plays out. But to be honest, on dollar index, I think the sort of weekly distribution of volume has kind of played out. We had the accumulation beginning of the week. We manipulated lower. And something I'm paying a lot more attention to are these true opens. Just looking at time and the distribution of volume in whatever cycle you're looking at, whether that's daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly. True opens, which are the start of the second quarter, again, in whatever period you're looking at, because time is fractal, is a point in time at which I'm paying more attention to, because I'm just noticing, and this is also from the stuff that I'm studying, that whatever direction the market trades in right after the true open forms or starts is honestly like 90 to 95% of the time the direction that the market's being manipulated in, before we start to head in the true direction of the trend. So at the moment, I've only got the daily marked out here, but normally when I'm active, I've only got the weekly. Normally when I'm active, I also mark out the dailies, because that kind of informs entries on a daily basis. But you can see the true open, we headed lower, and then yeah, we kind of shot up over the course of yesterday, and then we've just hit a reversal today. So the dollar index formed a very clean AMDX cycle. That power of 3 was just quite clear there. So don't think there's a lot of movement left on this pair for the rest of the week. I think we may potentially just accumulate and then get more movement next week. But I think it is largely going to be a corrective week, kind of trading within this range here. You can see these highs that are constantly being respected, and we're moving lower, probably just down to these lows. We have broken that gap to the downside, so I think we're going to see that come a bit lower, potentially down to there, before we again head higher or just break through from there. So, which I don't see all of that happening this week, probably next week. So looking at dollar index, and this one is very similar to I mean, Euro USD, very similar to dollar index, literally just inverse of what's going on. Again, on the daily time frame, was looking for this to aggressively sort of head a bit lower, but we've gotten very low momentum candlestick movement in this area, counter to what the momentum was. So very indicative of that continuation further to the upside. Look, we have been trading higher, but it was really just within this internal liquidity after we formed this low, after breaking that. And so, yeah, we are still within this range and technically should come lower, but just monitoring how price is forming now, and just looks a bit clearer on the 4 hour. Very corrective piece of price. And what I'm noticing is we just keep running these lows. Let me zoom in a bit. So what I'm noticing is we're running these lows, 1, 2. When we do very correctively, again, very correctively, and in all 3 scenarios, well, this was not really a low, but after we do run these lows and we get to the extent of the lows, we then get very we displace to the upside, very high volume moves to the upside, same like we're getting here. So just signaling a bit to me that we manipulating those lows and then attempting to displace to the upside because that's potentially the direction that the market wants to trade in. Um, and every time we do run these lows, it's not like there's a massive um, uh, displacement to the downside. US 30 is a bit different, and this pair's kind of fallen out of correlation with that because that's just, yeah, it's just bleeding. But yeah, what I like about EURUSD is obviously from the daily 4 hour, looking very corrective. When we come to the 4 hour, we've just inverted this fair value gap here, and formed a very clean, one-sided fair value gap on the 4 hour for potential pullback and continuation to the upside. So I'll be looking for this to potentially continue higher, at least to these highs, if not breaking above. Whether that happens this week, highly doubt it because we have had, again, like dollar index, a very clean distribution of volume, just in terms of accumulating beginning of the week, and then this is meant to be there. So accumulating beginning of the week, then manipulated higher, distributed lower, and then we now on Thursday, which is the end of the weekly cycle, and then Friday has its own cycle, which I'm just trying to figure out still. So again, on EURUSD, I think the move, at least the move within that sequence that I'm now actively looking for, is kind of played out. And so while I have this high time frame bias in terms of timing that entry, look, I'm not trading anyway, but I would obviously have to just see how the Friday plays out and how the daily cycle sort of positions itself in terms of that accumulation. Then we look for that manipulation, and then distribution. But I think a good sort of starting point is this area here on the 4 hour, where we will potentially test and then look to continue to the upside. So yeah, if I was looking to get in, it would probably be from that area there. What's that? 1.08253 to 1.08191 on EURUSD. And then yeah, daily is just looking very clean in terms of the potential engulfing of this daily. But yeah, let's see how that plays out. On APY, if you're riding this over the past couple of weeks, then you caught a monster of a position. I'm sure it was agonizing in terms of how long it took to get there because there's been zero volume on this pair, but it's eventually played out. Structure always plays out, and we've reached those highs. This is normally where I like to sit on my hands because we've breached very high time frame targets that have kind of been, we've projected that for some time, and we've gotten there now, with not with a lot of momentum though. I think very sort of symbolic of just a manipulation higher. We didn't break that level with any sort of conviction. Yeah, didn't really close above it. Well, we did, but again, closed above and then closed straight below, retest and then push lower. So I think at least on the 4 hour, we're definitely rejecting that level. And so, yeah, a bit of misalignment on EURUSD and Pound JPY, which are normally in correlation. But Pound JPY looking like it's wanting to get lower. Again, on this as well, we've kind of gotten the weekly sequence play out. It's already kind of played out. But I think, if anything, there's a continuation to the downside that's true here that we could see play out on Friday. So be looking for this pullback, first sort of area of interest, that fair value gap. If not, order block way up there, and then for price to head lower. Yeah, bearish on Pound JPY. Bearish on Pound JPY. USD's off, pushing up quite nicely. I know we had unchanged interest rates today. But yeah, coming from this high value area on the daily, it's just been quite clean really from a price action perspective in terms of getting to that area, shifting structure on the 4 hour, and then just yeah, respecting that structural shift and forming then a new higher high, higher low, and then higher high. So yeah, the momentum's definitely to the upside here. Again, I think it's just similar on so many pairs. It's a bit late in the week, and the weekly sequences just played out again on this. You can see a lot of the volume came in today to the upside. The primary entry was yesterday, sometime in the morning. But yeah, would continuations high on this. We have formed here. So from a 4 hour perspective, we'll be looking at those sort of areas for continuations. Nothing much on the hourly, and from a 15-minute, nothing much as well. Yeah, I think it's a very decent area. Just looking at the fair value gaps and the imbalances, really for that continuation higher. But obviously, if not, then it's going to come, I think, all the way down to this POI/order block, which would be, yeah, very high probability set up to the upside. So continuation on the dollar, USD ZAR, and yeah, more likely than not next week though, because I think the move that was going to play out this week, where a lot of volume was going to enter, has played out. And I think this was probably waiting for that interest rate decision today, before playing, kind of showing its hand, from a technical perspective. I think, yeah, potentially maybe staying away from this though, if you do trade it heavily, just because we've obviously got election results pending. Not sure which way it's going to go, even if obviously there's an indication of how it's going to go. We're not sure how the market's going to react to that. Yeah, there's so many scenarios that could play out. And right now, especially after this distribution higher, not really in a key area at the moment. But from a high time frame perspective, I see this heading a lot higher. So yeah, let's just see if the fundamentals and the technicals align. Yeah, but I think I'm definitely waiting for a correction. Obviously, I won't take this until not next week, the week after. But yeah, I think potentially a good setup here for a much longer term play to the upside. And then US 30. This pair, or this, not really a pair, but this indice index has just been ruthlessly heading lower. But this was clean, I think, from when it was up here, and the candlestick formation and just the structural shifts, like, this was super, super clean. And so we're kind of just heading lower. Not much structure at the moment. I think even earlier in the week, there was this. Your only entry was really up here, I think, on Monday or Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. The manipulation itself wasn't anything extensive, but it was. Glitchy. But it was sort of a breach of these highs, and then obviously fell to display, and then yes, I can't even see an entry. It fell so quickly. I mean, if you had marked something maybe here, you would have been marking fair value gaps the whole way, and the odd chance it pulled back, you kind of just take it. That was really the only pullback where there was a potential entry. Yeah. Now that, from what I'm learning now, that's literally the only entry, and that was the case. So hourly fair value gap, look for an entry then, or market maker model on the 5 minute, and another confluent gap there that would have helped refine that level. Then yeah, at the moment I'm just looking at these on a sort of low basis. So would have just placed it there with stops above the gap and then, held it lower. But yeah, geez, this thing has been tumbling. So shout out to those who've been catching it. Nico is saying, also eyeing that zone at 37,400 as TP for the sells. My G. Let's see. Uh, oh, 37. It's just this. Okay, 37 down there. That's a long way to go. That is a long way to go. And with the volume or the momentum that this thing has now, really on the next pullback, just look for that to continue. So I think if there is a pair that, or there is one asset on the watch list that I could continue to look for an opportunity on, because all the others, to be honest, there's nothing really. It's probably US 30. Um, it's a two-sided gap, but um, yeah, I'd probably look for a lower time frame structural shift within this area, and then look for a combination of, obviously there's that break of structure gap, inverted fair value gap, and then correction and take that to the downside. But this is the area of correction that I'd be looking for. If it's a minute 15, then I'd drop down to the 1 minute and confirm it there. So what is going on here? Cool. So yeah, those are the pairs. Not, to be honest, not much for this week. Just because it, everything's kind of played out in the way that I would take it. Obviously, there is continuation on some, reversals that I'm seeing on others. Like reversal on Euro USD, reversal on Pound JPY. Although that's probably going to be a hedge because those, if volume comes in, they'll probably head in the same direction. I think more likely than not, it's going to head higher, based off EU. Um, yeah, USDs to continue higher. A lot of sort of fundamental uncertainty there. So trade cautiously, if you will, USDs. And then US 30, continuation lower. Again, that conflicts with Euro USD, but US 30's they've kind of been doing their own things over the past week or so. But US 30 still has a lot of potential to the downside. And if Euro USD just continues to correct for the rest of this week, then I think we probably will see US 30 come lower into those targets, 37.2 to 37.4, like NK was saying. And yeah, but I think if I was active, I'd probably just sit on my hands for Friday because a lot of, again, that volume seems to have been distributed based on the sequence I look for and what I'm looking for now in my sort of revised in the works trading plan. So yeah, those are the pairs. Bit of a short one this week, just because Marcy's obviously not here. We would have been jumping into his take on things. But yeah, uh, that's I guess all. Shout out for those who were on. Shout out Nico. And yeah, stay tuned for the bi-weekly podcast that's dropping tomorrow. We kind of formally announce the 100K challenge, road to 100K challenge, what we're doing to prep, and kind of just like where we're at with that and how we're looking to approach it. I think those episodes are kind of getting better every single week. Not every week or every second week when we do record them. So yeah, this is undoubtedly probably our best. And yeah, stay tuned as well for the weekly reviews as always. I'll be breaking down kind of what I'm learning, how I'm approaching things, how I'm looking to implement things. It's going to be a bit of an information dump on you guys, but I think through that, it's going to just help me understand, yeah, this new strategy a bit better. And yeah, excited for the continued implementation going forward. So, as always, guys, don't forget consistency is a choice you make when you start doing the things you know you should be doing day in and day out. Peace out.